What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Class Action. It's me. It's PLD.
Oh, you just took
just thinking that.
Class Action.
I was just thinking that. I just totally stole your line. I'm used to.
I had a whole line prepared. I was like, "Welcome to the classiest show on the interwebs." No, I couldn't. Well, I'm Jarvie. Welcome.
To be fair, I've been doing a lot of other hosting, and I kind of used to saying "Welcome to the show," but I totally just I said it. I started coming out. I'm totally realizing what I'm saying. It was too late. I just went forward.
I should just be limited to you say, "Welcome to Class Action." I'm Paul. I'm just kidding. Hi.
You know what? I'm just going to boot you off, and I'm going to take over the show right now. It's Class Action, where the Action Industry's YouTube channel, home of Ben Bateman and Andrew Guy. Well, we salute them.
All right, there we go.
Well, we salute them, of course. But how you doing today, Jarvie? A little better than last week?
Yeah, I had a pretty tough week, and I think I echoed through tech issues were what bothered me last week on our show, which was such a shame because I'm like a really huge fan of Riley.
Yeah, we had. If you didn't see last week's episode, guys, you should go check it out. Though either way, even though Jarvie had multiple technical issues, we did it. It was myself, Richard. We went with Matty Kearns and Mark Riley. We ranked the Superman franchise. We did that live. That's Class Action live. We do that once a month. Try to do that kind of thing. It was a very fun stream. Although Jarvie did have to go on and off. But eventually, we found a spot and made it through.
It was a pretty cool road to class, let's say, when I watched all the Superman movies, which I'd never seen before. Yeah. So this week is way more relaxed for me because I've seen both movies and I got to watch them again, and I didn't have to watch them at work or anywhere on the go. I just sat down and I watched them at home on my big screen with the speakers on super loud, and I just enjoyed myself. So this week feels like it's all going good until we started recording and you took my lines.
Totally took your lines. But I'm going to continue on now as if that didn't happen. Class Action is our show in Action Industry channel, as I said. And on this show, we put up two opponents against each other. They can be movies, they can be franchises, they can be Hollywood personas, actors, whatever we decide. We're going to put them up against each other with the help of these 5 custom-made categories. We find out which one's going to win this battle against each other to the death. And then what do we call that? We call it the Class Action Brief of the Week.
Yes, we do. And today we're doing, what did I say what we're doing? We're doing Interstellar versus Arrival. And these are like two of my both movies are in my top 10, top 20.
Of all time.
These movies are on such a high level that it's crazy. I try to decide the categories when I did my notes, and it's pretty much impossible.
They get better every time I watch them. Every time I watch them, I feel like I find more stuff that I like about them. I do want to say it's kind of interesting. I kind of say this almost every week, but I mean it even more than ever this week. We always go into a show putting up two things against each other, and I have an idea of who I want to win. I don't let that color my view, because we made the category specifically for that reason. But like, for example, we had The Rock versus Con Air a couple weeks ago. Rock's one of my favorite movies of all time. Con Air is just a very fun, good movie. So I kind of wanted The Rock to win in a way, but that's what we come with the categories, because sometimes we've surprised ourselves. I've had some of the things we come up at the end. You're like, wow, holy shit, this whatever won. But this one, I have no clue which one I want to win. I mean, Interstellar is definitely one of my top 10 movies of all time. Arrival, I've always said Interstellar is a little bit better than Arrival for myself personally.
Yeah, me too, kind of.
But Denis Villeneuve is my favorite current living director, even better than Nolan, as far as I'm concerned. Denis is my guy at this point. So putting up these two films and these two directors, it's gonna be a bloodbath. I don't know what way we're gonna go.
These are I have 3 favorite directors. It's James Cameron, Christopher Nolan, and Denis Villeneuve. So that's my big 3, and 2 of them are going up against each other right now.
We should go find a Cameron movie to put up against it too, huh?
Sorry?
We should go pick a Cameron movie to put up against it too. Really make you have to work hard. Maybe T2, maybe something like that. Either way,
I think I'm having some lag issues.
Are you? Okay. Do you hear
I
me
can
now?
hear you now. So
You hear
good.
me now. That's all we care about.
Yep.
So you missed my awesome joke, and it's okay. We're just gonna move on like it didn't happen. Anyway,
I'm sorry. That's what you get for stealing my lines.
either way, before we get to the class action brief of the week, we like to have some segments to do. Back when we actually could go to movies and we would see new movies, we would spend our time. I know. I heard you saying
they're
that,
opening
actually.
movies in Estonia. They're opening cinemas in Estonia on the 1st of July.
Are they July? That's both good and bad. I mean, good that the movies are on, but it's kind of a scary. Is it time yet? I don't know. It kind of seems like we're not. I don't know if we're ready for it yet. I don't know. I'm going to find out, I guess. But either way, what we used to do is we take new movies, we'd go and we review them, for example, do a quick review on them.
Mm-hmm.
But since we've been doing a lot more older movies, we decided to instead we do more of our other fun segments, including the first segment we're going to do this week. First segment we're going to do. One I always love, when Richard Eric Jarvey does the most prep work of any segment on the show. He does it every week so diligently. I always am surprised and excited to see what he has come up with over the week. And definitely not within the last 5 minutes. It's the what would Ed Harris play, my boy? If you ever watch the show, if you even know who I am, you know that Ed Harris is my favorite actor of all time, bar none. I think he never mails in a performance, and he makes every movie better. So what do? We take him and try to insert him into the movie somehow. Either you can recast him as somebody, or we can rewrite a role for him sometime. Either way, we're getting him in the movie to make it even better. And I did both these movies this week. Richard, what did you so diligently prepare this week? Did you do both movies?
I prepared a brief of the week. I watched both these movies, and I remembered to recast Ed Harris in both movies.
Oh, you did. All right.
Of course. Every time I'm a professional.
Right. It wasn't the.
I don't steal lines, and I remember my segments.
You're never going to let me live that down, are you? That's all right. All right. Well, then, because you so diligently came out and prepared, what would you have Ed Harris play?
No, I'd let you go first because mine's so good.
Oh, is it so good?
Yeah, okay. I need to sort of like prepare my, prepare myself mentally.
Oh, okay.
So you go first.
Okay. For Interstellar, there's some obvious choices, but I didn't want to go obvious. I'm taking
you didn't want to go either Lithgow or Michael Caine, right?
I did not.
These
That's
are the
exactly
obvious
the thing.
ones.
Those are the obvious choices. I think it's a funny thing. We kind of like, in some ways, it almost seems like we should do the obvious ones because that's part of what if he would play.
We sometimes do.
And we do. We do that sometimes. You're right. But I feel like we have a challenge. We like challenge. That's okay. I feel like we challenge each other though. Sometimes we're like kind of like, what would he play? That's a little outside the box here. And I got to be honest, you inspire me. It's always Jarvis that inspires me with those kind of things. So week,
you want to start off with Interstellar?
I will. I'll start with Interstellar, and I got one right. I got one, and I thought it right away, and I sat in it. I loved it. Ed Harris as TARS.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's if no one understood that's why I named myself Jarvis today. It's because of TARS, one of my favorite characters in the entire movie.
Oh, by far. Oh, he's so fun. He's so great too. But I wanted to hear Ed Harris.
TARS with Ed Harris's voice. Wow.
Because he's got this voice he's got a great voice. Now it can be, it's usually a very intense voice, but there's been some roles where he's been kind of low key and more slow drawl. And I think it'd be a very comforting voice, a very intelligent sounding voice, like a Truman Show kind of voice in a way, or just telling them everything that it is. I think it could work brilliantly.
That's a great choice. I do like that one. When you were talking, I came up with two. One's a serious one. Because I don't have one for Arrival, but I think I figured out two for Interstellar. The first one that I was actually thinking of, but I'm sure it would cause some problems because I'd have him as Dr. Mann, Matt Damon's character.
Okay.
And I'm not against having Matt Damon as the big reveal as the character, and I actually very much like his storyline. I think there's a lot of humanity in there, but we'll get to when we're talking our categories. There it goes. There comes Indy.
Always starts playing at this point. I can't help it.
But the only thing that kind of bothered me, I don't know what it was about, like Matt Damon as Dr. Mann, the brightest of them all, and him having played the Martian, somehow he wasn't as convincing as I was convinced that he was losing his mind. but I wasn't convinced of his intellectual ability. I don't know. It's weird. And I think Ed Harris would have had this very commanding presence. You sort of believe everything he says.
I get that.
So,
I get that.
But the other one that I came up with, which is very much far off left field. All right, there's some storytelling needed now. The movie ends with McConaughey going after Anne Hathaway.
Right.
She got to, okay, spoilers for Interstellar. Probably spoiling the movies. She's like, she lost Edmonds, right? Edmonds is like dead on the planet. She buries him.
Right.
And McConaughey goes to like rescue her or go to her.
Right.
And I'd have McConaughey run into some kind of trouble. He's taking super long time to get to the planet. When he finally gets there, he has aged a lot. When he comes out of the cockpit, he's Ed Harris. And when he sees Anne Hathaway is Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio.
Oh.
But she's having some trouble. Something happens when he lands, and she loses conscience. And Ed Harris has to go up to her and wake her up, like, "You never gave up before I fight you, bitch!" And slaps her, and she comes back to life, and they kiss, and they're together.
I'll reprise The Abyss. I'll take it. One of my favorite movies of all time. I will take that and go with it. I think you might win this week again, despite everything. Despite everything. All right. Well, you didn't do one for Arrival. I'll throw you a quick one for Arrival. I was going to put Ed Harris in Arrival. I know everybody was. The initial thought is you got to put him in the Forrest Whitaker role, that military role, as we always do.
Yeah.
But I think I want to put him in a different role. Still military, because they're all pretty much military except for Amy Adams. Agent. His name was Agent. God, I can't remember his name now. Agent.
Do you mean the guy who
Halpert,
goes in
Michael
there too?
Stuhlbarg. He's the guy who like.
Oh my God.
He's the guy who like basically he's basically saying the whole time he's almost like the bad guy of the group in a way, because he's like, doesn't matter what you want, Amy Adams, you got to realize what's politically going on, and he goes after her with the phone and everything. It seems like it's a very authoritative, very like presence that I think he would have added a great deal to.
That's actually, to me, that's the most obvious choice, even before Forrest Whitaker for me. Okay. Yeah, for some reason, but I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I do like Stuhlbarg very much because he has this very gentle presence about him. If it would be Ed Harris, I feel like the character would turn into a very negative character, sort of. I don't know. Stuhlbarg has these redeeming, gentle qualities about him. I don't know. I'm just bringing yours down. I'm sorry, but
that's all right. It's all good. It's okay. That's what you do.
I need to win.
Well, that's going to be it for what would Ed Harris play. Let's go on to our next segment, which I'm going to let Richard R. Jarvie introduce, since he loves introducing this segment. Should we bring in our guest first?
I don't know if she needs to hear this. Actually, bring her on, of course.
Okay. We bring on a special guest to our show. She's a member of the Action Army. You know her. She's a general there. She's one of my favorite people. Kelsey Kirkland.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks.
We're so excited to have you on our show. Now, you actually just watched these two movies like last night, you said, right?
Yes, I hadn't seen them for a while, mostly since like they had just first come out, and I'm like, I want to do a rewatch before I appear on here, so I watched both yesterday.
Sweet. Oh God,
did you watch them back to back?
There was about a 2 or 3 hour break between the two. I had meetings, but yeah, they're pretty close.
Good ones to do. Yeah. Well, Jarvie, why do we have?
So, Paul, you were about to explain the segment that you brought her on.
I've been talking so much. I stole some of your lines. Why don't you take this one for me, Richard?
All right. So this segment is called The Public Defender. And we will be doing an off-the-cuff list. Now, the reason why we are calling it The Public Defender is we wanted it to sound something from the legal world.
Oh, class action.
And we're doing an off-the-cuff list. So we figured in the legal world, like public defenders are usually legal world. Sounds like Disney World. That sounds like the worst theme park ever. Welcome to legal world.
Theme park ever. Isn't that Disney anyway, though?
Sorry. Oh, snap.
We're gonna take it down, aren't we?
Anyway, public defenders in movies usually very worn down. They're overworked. They're underpaid. And that sometimes means that when they come to court, they're underprepared and they have to come up with stuff off the cuff, on the spot, underprepared. So we figured me and Paul started giving each other like lists that the other one hadn't heard before. Like, come up with your favorite Tom Cruise movies on the spot. Now we wanted it to do it both together, and now we've incorporated a guest for each show. So this week, Kelsey will be giving us her off-the-cuff list that we will do with Paul.
So without further ado,
that was rough. I'm gonna need a drink.
I love that's my main thing watching Richard Archer try to explain that, because he always stumbles over. He can't figure out what to do.
Like, I can't like I sometimes get in trouble with my English, and sometimes my thoughts go like way bonkers.
And so it's my job to embarrass the living hell out of you, because that's what I do as my brother. With that being said, Kelsey, what do you got for us?
All right. I had problems coming up with a question, but finally I came up with one. Definitely one of my favorite aspects of Arrival is the design of the heptapods. I think they're very cool, interesting design for an alien species. So my list for you guys is your top alien character designs.
Ooh.
Visually, sound, just overall.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Tom.
I can do this.
That's what you always say. Okay.
I can go first if you want.
You go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
And I'll. It's design and look and
just,
character as well, or just look.
In sound, anything that makes the alien look is the way it is. So.
All right. My first one. Are we doing top 6? So each of us are doing 3.
We'll do 6. We'll do 3 each.
Okay. So my number 3, let's say, is the alien from Paul, voiced by Seth Rogen. I love that movie. And I love Seth Rogen's voice. It shouldn't work with an alien, but he's so freaking funny.
It does.
And I do love that they went with the classic depiction of an alien that we all like have gotten used to, and they turned it into a joke. So
Agreed.
I do love that movie.
Agreed. I'm gonna put another limitation on us. We can only use one Star Wars character.
I wasn't going to use any Star Wars, honestly.
You're not going to do any Star Wars. Oh,
no. I feel like this is cheating.
That's cheating. You know what? You're right. Of course, that's going to take away. You're going to totally undercut me. But I do have a couple I would like to throw out there. One of the ones I definitely wanted to talk about is Alien. H.R. Geiger, Alien Queen.
Of course.
It's one of the most classic designs of all time. It's so scary, so oppressive looking, so like just gruesome looking.
Everything is so creepy.
It's so creepy. It's so perfect for the film it's in. I don't have much more to say about that. It's just so perfectly designed. There's books on it. You can actually get design works on it. Like people will study the design of that look and try to actually gets like I don't know, like copied, but it's influenced a lot of alien designs across the years as well. So H.R. Geiger, it's a no brainer for me. That's one of my definitely top three.
Okay. That's a good one. Okay, my second one will be a more serious one, and it will be from District 9. The prawns, or what do they call them? The prawns.
Oh, the prawns. Okay.
The prawns from District 9.
They're
very insectoid looking, like, and the way they talk.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I do like how Neil Blomkamp designed them, and it was also a very cool, interesting movie about the real world. But the look and voice and everything about them, it made them look very, very practical, even though they were CGI. They felt very real.
Okay, I like that. Quite a bit. Okay, let me see what I can come up with here. I think the one I like.
I'm struggling as well.
It's Men in Black.
I
like the design of the what the ant guy, because the bug guy becomes Vincent D'Onofrio.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. The road creature and everything else. He eventually becomes like I like the slow decay, as like he takes over the human body, and all of a sudden gets worse and worse as the movie goes along until the end. It's like comes out, it's full on roach basically, or whatever roach design. I always love watching that movie. He's spot on funny in that movie. I love that guy.
And so inappropriate.
Absolutely, completely, 100%.
That movie has not aged well.
No, it hasn't. You're not wrong. You're not wrong there. So that's something to go with that.
Okay, so my last one is a panic choice, and
I love the panic choices.
And it's from Mars Attacks, the big head friggin' weirdos.
Yes.
They're awful looking, but I can't come up with anything better at the moment.
Really? Nothing? All right. I was gonna cheat actually. I won't cheat, but if I would have done Star Wars, I actually would have done Dexter Jettster, because I really do love that design. Dexter from Attack of the Clones. Jetster from Attack of the Clones, the diner.
Okay.
The four-armed diner guy. I love him. From the voice and everything else, I just love everything about him. But I won't use Star Wars instead. I'll go another old school low-key one, the Predator.
Yeah, okay, you piggybacked off of Alien.
Right. I did a little bit. That's my panic choice a little bit. That's my panic choice. Now,
fair enough.
So we got our top 3 in. Let's give Kelsey the floor. I'm sure she's going to wipe the floor with ours because she had a little
time to think about it. Hers can't be better than ours.
All right. My number 3 are the Death Angels. That's the name of the aliens from A Quiet Place.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow.
I love their design. I love the sounds like make, and then just the way they're
the big ear sort of thing.
Yeah. So that's my 3. My 2 is the Xenomorphs from Alien. They're just unbeatable. They're beautiful design. Right. And then my first favorite, I'm an arthropod person. I love like insects and arachnids and things like that. So the arachnids, warrior bugs from Starship Troopers. They're the ones that have like the pointy little thing. Yeah.
Starship Troopers is such a great movie.
I love that movie so much.
It is such a great movie. It's a low-key great movie. If you go in thinking it's something else, you could be totally like, what the fuck is this? But when you get the point and you get over it, it's such a great film. So,
and they're so brutal. The aliens, they like rip people to shreds left and right.
Super brutal. Right. So, all right. Well, that is a great off-the-cuff lift. You got us going, and you, of course, went to floor with us as you would.
I think it was one of my favorite off-the-cuff lists.
I do.
I felt like comfortable enough to get a few, and then I panicked. It was just the right amount.
Perfectly done, Kelsey. Perfectly done.
Well, thank you.
So, thank you very much, Kelsey, for stopping by. I'm going to put her backstage, and she's going to watch her. And if she does have something to say, she'll give me a signal. Maybe we'll bring her back on. So she'll hang out with us at least for a little while and probably bring her back on the end to say goodbye. But for now, thank you, Kelsey.
Thank you, Kelsey. That was awesome.
All right, let's get into their class action brief of the week. The 5 custom.
So what do you really think about Kelsey?
Well, I can talk all day about Kelsey. Oh, wait. I think she can still hear us, though.
No, you didn't mute us? Okay, all right.
I didn't mute us. Better not. The 5 categories we came up with for Arrival versus Interstellar. We got first, better soundtrack. Soundtrack. Oh, Hans Zimmer versus Johanna Johansson. That's going to be, I'm already like trembling and scared about what I have to pick between these. 2, the better twist. Both movies have a kind of big twist at the end, towards the end, or that kind of focuses the whole film. So which one works better? We do got the better leading duo, which I wanted to talk to you about, but we're going to save it for there because there's an interesting point I have to make about it. Question I have for you, actually. But for better threat concept, basically the idea, the plot substance of the movie, basically what is the obstacles put in their way, how does it designed as far as that goes, and how they go about solving said problem. Basically. And the number 5 one, we're going to totally do what we do sometimes. We love Ben and Drew. We love Action Movie Anatomy. We're going to steal a category from Action Movie Anatomy. Ben, Drew, we salute you. The better explosion of emotion.
Yeah, that was actually, I think, Marissa. No, not Marissa. I can't remember her name. She was on Action Movie Anatomy. She came up with the Marina Verano. Marina, yeah, that's her.
No, Marissa.
No, not Marissa. Marina. She was not the engineer, Marissa.
Oh, yes. You're, I mean, the guest they had for not very long. It was like about a handful of episodes. I remember. Yes, okay.
She came up with Explosion of Emotion, which is
not quite
such a great. There's a difference.
There is a small difference, but both films have them. Both films have them in spades. So
many of them.
That's what we're going to go with. So
that's our last one. We're going to save that for last.
Because we tend to save those for last. Those are the ones. That's those are the moments we really want to talk about. You're like, that's what makes these films exciting.
And I feel like we should, for the last one, I think we should bring Kelsey on. I'm pretty sure she has a lot of like explosion of emotion moments that she would want to talk. So.
Yeah, I think that's what's going to have to happen. It's going to have to happen. And then she can be our deciding vote if need be. That's what we decided last week. There will be no hung jury. If Jarvie and I are tied at the end of this episode, Kelsey will be the deciding vote. We told her that. We prepared her for it. Well, actually, we told her about 5 minutes ago, but that's okay. But anyway,
she will be the public defender.
That's her public defender moment.
No, the public judge.
The public judge is actually better. The whole fate of the show rests on her.
If we tie.
All right, let's get into the first one. Better soundtrack.
Ooh.
You wanna go first? Or you want me to go first?
Let's just listen to the soundtrack. I can go first.
Okay. Go ahead.
Like, and also before I get into both of them separately, these are two soundtracks that are in my top 5 all time. Both of them.
Okay.
Okay, let's talk about Arrival first. Like Johan Johansson, and rest in peace. I'm so sad that he passed.
Yeah.
He crafted a score that truly bends the senses. It feels like the score feels like a character in a movie. It makes you feel like very complex feelings, and it makes you feel very cerebral. And it's not always like music or melody. It's sounds and noises and these very sort of like this very alien like creepy disturbing sound. But then when need be, it turns into a melodic theme as well. So I feel like Arrival is the more experimental approach to two of these scores, and I do like Arrival more because of that. But we're talking about Hans Zimmer for Interstellar. That's the greatest composer of all time. And don't get me started on John Williams. Hans Zimmer is the GOAT.
Okay, kick Jarvie off. He's done now. I can't have that kind of blasphemy thrown around here. I've taken over class action. It's a coup. I can't believe you just said that.
Hans Zimmer is the GOAT.
How dare you?
The greatest composer of all time. John Williams, he's all right. Okay, he's a close second. Williams is a close second.
You're breaking my heart. You're going down a path I can't follow.
Follow me. You and I can rule the galaxy, make things the way we want them to be.
And I want them to be John Williams being the GOAT. That's what I want. That's what I want. That's what's going to happen.
Anyway, but
anyway.
like Hans Zimmer is my number one.
Okay.
And Interstellar has become my favorite out of Hans Zimmer's score. But the difference between them is exactly what I said. Johan Johansson made a very experimental, like, sound-based score. What Hans Zimmer did, he included the what do you call the not the piano, the organ. The organ that usually it starts off very gentle and calm, like these small tones, do 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 do, and as the scene progresses, it gets louder, it gets stronger, and there's a lot of repetition in there, which again, it's like Dunkirk in a way. They play with time, and Hans Zimmer himself plays with time, and he builds the scenes into these super powerful moments, like the docking scene when he's like, "It's impossible." No, it's necessary. Like that, but that moment without the score, it's nothing.
Right.
It's just like Matthew McConaughey being awesome, but there's no, like, both of these movies are totally devoid of what they are when the score is in them. You know, I'm gonna give this to Arrival.
Wow.
And I wasn't going to. But it feels like with Arrival, they took more risks. It's more experimental, and it makes, like, Hans Zimmer's score makes me feel good and powerful. Arrival's score makes me feel very uneasy, but sort of still blows my mind with all these alien sounds.
Okay.
I'm very surprised it just did that. Honestly, I had Interstellar.
I thought Hans Zimmer was your number one. He was your boy. He was your go-to. And there you go. You just struck him down.
There we go. Like I'm a very controversial person.
You are. You're very controversial. Okay.
I just surprised myself.
I can tell. Well, while you're surprising yourself, I'll throw in my 2 cents. I will, despite my protestations, I do think Hans Zimmer is one of the greatest of all time as well. I just think Williams just can't be beaten. But Zimmer probably actually my number 2. So I will agree with that on so many different levels. The thing is, I don't have much to say that you haven't said. I do like everything that Johansson did. I liked actually his use of someone else's piece as well. He used Max Richter's "On the Nature of Daylight," which has been used in several movies now, such as Shutter Island. That violin piece, it's done when used extremely well. It's brilliantly beautiful. But it was.
Well, you're talking about Johan Johansson at the moment.
Yes. That's Johan Johansson. He used this piece of music by Max Richter. It wasn't all him. It's actually the reason why Arrival was, I believe it was not eligible for the Oscar that year.
That was crazy when I looked it up. How did he not? That
because
should
of this
have
piece.
won.
It's because of the use of other people's music. So it wasn't a complete original score. That's what disqualified him. Another interesting point I'll have to say is Johan Johansson has worked with
Denis Villeneuve before on Sicario.
many times. Also Prisoners as well.
Yep.
And had started to work on Blade Runner 2049 before he was replaced. I believe that's what it said. I'm not sure why. I don't know if
with Hans Zimmer.
With Hans Zimmer. That's like when I was
crazy.
going to make. That was big. We got the both. I got Hans Zimmer with Denis Villeneuve. So that was exciting for me. But anyway, he did use that piece of music really well. Hans Zimmer used the organ, exactly what you said. Some of those pieces in there, the individual pieces, work so well for me. The pieces like the mountains piece, the mountain when that piece just adds so much to it. And I will also say that what I liked about it is actually it was a complaint by some people, but I loved it. The fact that the music sometimes got so overpowering that it overpowered even some of the dialogue. But I loved how it made you feel because this whole film is based on time and lack of time, and it had that intensity to it, and it amped up the intensity so much. Arrival used it to be creepy.
Arrival was very subtle.
Interstellar used it to be over the top and sweeping. Which is why I am going to give it to Interstellar. I think that Interstellar was just so powerful I can't deny it. And again, I love the Arrival score though as well for exactly the same reasons you said. It was a great use of percussion, great use of individual notes and things. But as a whole, I got to go to Hans Zimmer. It's Interstellar for me.
I think this is like 9 out of 10 times I probably would have picked Interstellar. I don't know why. I decided this very instinctually.
It's good. That's what the show's about.
Mm-hmm.
The show's about sometimes, man.
I'm still a bit amazed that I picked Arrival, but I think Johan Johansson he deserves, and he should. Yeah, well, he can't get a. Yeah, no. I just think like, do they give some sort of like the Oscars they give like the what's it called, the Oscar that they just give to someone?
Oh, the honorary
Oscar or something. I feel like he should get an honorary something for Arrival score, even though that they use the Max Richter's themes in there.
I don't know. It'd be nice to see. It's probably not going to happen now because Arrival's 4 years old, 5 years old now.
Yeah, that's
4
true.
Years old.
I just.
But yeah, I get it. It should have been honored in some way because it was extremely, extremely beautiful. Yeah. So, all right. Well, that was question number one, category number one. Category number two, the better twist. Spoilers, guys. Obviously, spoilers. We're going to be talking about the twists in the end of the episode, end of the movie. So, on one side, we got a Arrival, where we discover the whole time that the alien's language lets her see both future and past, and like really play with time in a way. And you find out that her and Jeremy Renner, who just met during this crisis, we had these flashbacks. Should say back that she had flashbacks the whole movie about this child who grew up, and obviously she's stricken with some illness, and she loses her. And we think it's all flashbacks the way it's done. It's
very Nolan-like if you think about it. Like non-linear storytelling. That's straight out of Memento.
Yeah, it's straight out a lot of Nolan's stuff in a way. But at the end, we discover that it was actually because of the alien's language. She was looking forward, and time is just it's like a fifth. Surprisingly enough, it's like a fifth dimension, and like they can travel forward and backwards in time as a reason. She saves the day by going forward in time to get the personal cell phone number of the Chinese general who's about to declare war on the alien race in a way. And it's such a weird, like it's hard to wrap your head around kind of concept, but the way it's done is just so crisp that it's so. I'm getting into like my decision. I should be just saying what the twists are. So I will. Let me just move forward and say the Interstellar twist, of course, at the end is you realize that throughout the whole movie, Matthew McConaughey's daughter Murph has been having a ghost in her room that has been kind of giving her information, and we never know who it was. We don't know who's selling us what. It's some kind of aliens. We think it's an alien race. It turns out not to be an alien race at all. it's actually Matthew McConaughey from the future. Again, time is but a construct in a way, as a way they can interact with the past and future. So they're both kind of related twists.
They are very similar.
Very similar twists in a way. But I will take this at first. I'll take, since I'm already rolling with it, I'll tell you right away, I give this one hands down to Arrival. The reason why is I think that Arrival had slightly better execution of what it wanted to get done, and more crisper, more cleaner. There was less question about it. It was led up very well, and when it hit, it was a very hard hit. Some people will argue about Interstellar. They think the third act falls apart. I'm not one of those people. I love the third act. I think it's one of the things that I love the third act. I think it's just as good as everything else. If you believe in love as a concept, and you buy into what they're saying, and you're going to go all in, and you're going to love it as much as the rest of the movie. That's my own personal opinion. That's what I do. I build completely into it. But it is a little more meandering way to get there, comparatively to Arrival. Arrival, more crisper, more cleaner way to do it. They both end up in the same area. They both end up very well, and it's not like a grand slam, but I will give it to Arrival for just the slightly better execution of it.
It's interesting. For you, the twist is that Cooper was Murph's ghost. That's for me. The twist is that these aliens, these fifth dimensional beings, that they're actually humans. So the Murph storyline for me is a secondary storyline, but the actual, like when he goes, like they're like we create, it's us,
right?
We are the beings. We brought ourselves here. That to me was like, oh shit. I was like, just. Okay, I'll get into my reasonings. Like Arrival, in Arrival's case, you're not actually expecting a twist. You think this is like you said before. These are flashbacks, and we're just learning the language with her. We know that something is about to happen. She's learning the language, but you don't really expect there to be a twist. You think it's like a straightforward storyline that's beautifully told, and when it happens, you're very blown away. When they show Renner and how she has to make the decision to go through it all again, you're not expecting that at all, and it like completely sweeps you. In Interstellar's case, when he goes into the Tesseract, when he goes into the black hole, he's like, oh, it is falling, like he's all seeing like these weird things. You're okay, this is it, this is where they explain it. Now you're getting the answers. So what I love more about Arrival is that you're not expecting the twist. And Arrival, exactly, it gives you, it makes you think that there are aliens, but the aliens are actually humans, which is okay. I'm going into my other category. I don't want to do that, but I'll give this to Arrival as well for that reason, that you're not expecting a twist, but in the Interstellar's case, you are.
Okay, there we go. Let's move on to our next topic, then our next category: better leading duo. Now, I was thinking about this. Okay, easily for Arrival, you got Amy Adams and you have Jeremy Renner. Who is your leading duo for Interstellar?
Matthew McConaughey and Anne Hathaway.
Is it? Is it Matthew McConaughey and Jessica Chastain?
No.
So definitive you are. When I was thinking about it, you're right. Actually, I did go fourth. I went Matthew McConaughey and Hathaway are probably the two, because they're the ones that spend most time together, and I get that. But the appearance and the performance of Jessica Chastain is so powerful. It's so good. It almost puts her up in that same category. I mean, she is. You have Matthew McConaughey and Anne Hathaway as the space traveling. You have Jessica Chastain doing the whole storyline at the home with Casey Affleck, with her brother, and with Topher Grace at trying to continue Michael Caine's work or whatever. And so in a way, it's almost like she's just as much a part of the duo. It's almost like Matthew McConaughey and Anne Hathaway are one part of the duo, and Jessica Chastain is the second part of the duo.
I think it's your interpretation. It's whatever you want to choose, because that's what we usually go with.
Yeah. Well, that's the funny thing is, like, I almost feel like it's a three-way duo, which is weird for me. I feel like you know what? I'm gonna say I can do it because that's mine.
Do it.
It's a three-way duo. Matthew McConaughey and Anne Hathaway are one side, Jessica Chastain on the other, and that's why I give it to Interstellar hands down for me, because I love Amy Adams. Amy Adams and Matthew McConaughey are probably on the same level. Amy Adams has a very Amy Adams is a harder win because her role is this very stoic, very deadpan, but like almost PTSD type delivery where it's
she
not.
plays it very subtle. She plays a very subtle role.
Very subtle. No flash. It's not a flashy role at all. But when it matters, she hits home very hard. McConaughey is flashy.
He's McConaughey.
It's McConaughey, exactly. Just that moment you meant, like the moment you meant, probably get into fist pumps or explosion. It's almost fist pump or explosion. Most that whole thing. It's impossible. But it's
and necessary. He says the S is sort of like this. It's necessary
because he's just.
I don't know. His S's are so clean.
It's that word. It's just necessary.
Sizzles them.
Exactly. So Amy Adams deserved a lot of the press for it. But where it falls forth in Arrival for me is Jeremy Renner, who is fine. He's great. He's good. But there's not a whole lot of memorable moments from Renner for me. He's good. He's solid. But comparatively, you talk about with Hathaway, and even if you go Hathaway or Chastain, both of them run laps around Renner's character. So for me, it's got to be Interstellar.
Yeah, you pretty much hit the same beats. The star power, McConaughey and Hathaway, they feel their star power feels grander, and they're sort of like these more larger than life type of actors. I don't know, it's weird to say, but their sort of essence or something about them. And it feels like when McConaughey and Hathaway, they feel like you really feel like two superstars are on stage together. They're like very charismatic and charming and commanding when they are together. Like their back and forths, like their intellectual back and forths, is so enjoyable, but they're always going up against each other. They're sort of not always arguing, but sort of like trying to up the other one, trying to outplay the other one, which I thoroughly enjoyed. In Arrival's case, Amy Adams and Jeremy Renner, they're working together and they're always feeding off of each other's success. There's no confrontation. There's no sort of, upstaging the other one. They're very much a team, and that teamwork builds into the relationship, which the twist that they end up together, I think it's so earned because of that reason, how they work together. When they're talking, there's like this moment, and he's like behind a table and talking to Amy Adams, and he says, maybe you should break out the bottle. And she goes, you cracked something, didn't you? And sort of they're like, yes, something happening. They're working together. In Interstellar, it's very confrontational. But that's why I'm choosing Interstellar as well, because of that sort of the way they're back and forth. I don't know, they just light up the screen together. Although it's like you said, it's a bit unfair towards Arrival, but they are flashier in the Interstellar, and I do like it for that.
No, you can't. It's almost like you want to argue if they're flashier, then does that make it better? Yes.
No. It doesn't have to, but
it doesn't.
In
this
case,
it does. Exactly. I got a good point. Matt Connor's really a cowboy in this movie, like a hardcore cowboy.
So cool.
I mean, like, a lot of times you see sci-fi westerns, you see like the Han Solos are called cowboys because they're space. It's like that, but Matthew McConaughey really seems like a really Wrangler cowboy from the accent, from the way he speaks. It's a little good, but he's got this devil may care thing going on. It's just so brilliant.
I just figured something out.
Oh shit! Look at that.
Really weird.
Go ahead.
In an alternate universe, and I know it's always tough for you. If it wasn't Harry, imagine Matthew McConaughey as Han Solo, a different Han Solo.
No, I have thought about that.
He has that suave, very sort of womanizer approach.
Absolutely. He's got some swagger.
Very interesting now. Yeah, exactly.
He's got the swagger. He's one of the few people.
Yeah, he's a space cowboy.
Absolutely.
Driving his Lincoln Millennium Falcon. the Millennium Lincoln.
Oh man, I think you're canceling us now.
Oh my god.
I have to say, I don't think he has quite the gruff for Han Solo for me.
Yeah.
But if you had to pick somebody new, he wouldn't be a bad choice. I'll give you that definitively. So maybe he'll be he'll be in one of the new Star Wars films as some kind of other space cowboy, Han Solo's long lost cousin or something.
Tim Solo.
Murph Solo.
Cooper, yeah. No, Tim. I like Tim.
Cooper, like Tim. All right.
Fine, Tim sounds weird. All right, so we both went Interstellar. Next up, we have the better threat / concept. So both have threats, and I think I'll take the lead on this one. In Interstellar's case, so we are having sort of an apocalypse, but the world is dying in a way that humanity wouldn't expect. Well, actually, what I do want to say, how the world is dying in Interstellar, it feels very much like the world actually would die. I feel like there's a theme there that doesn't really get explored, but they talk about the thing that, well, we didn't run out of like technology, we ran out of food.
Right.
That's such an interesting, because I'm always the one who's thinking the world is too populated and we are having like all sorts of diseases, catastrophes, things like that. It feels like nature in a way is trying to balance itself out.
Right.
Nature is being the Thanos. And I feel like Interstellar, it starts off as a very realistic dystopian future. And the line comes to that we're not meant to save the earth, we're meant to leave it, which is such a great concept. From that's like one of the first fist bumps as well. Is like, okay, it's not about saving the earth, it's about leaving it. Go ahead.
Can I interject? I got to interject.
Sure.
The one thing specifically about that really struck me, it's something that's a very low key in the film, but like it struck me as a great world building piece. The whole sequence between David Oyelowo, the teachers, and Goop, and they start talking about how like the man.
You don't believe we landed on the moon?
Like, I believe it was a great piece of propaganda. And the whole piece of propaganda, you're like, that's the world they live in. That they actually believe that the moon landing didn't happen. It's not like and it's not done flashy or over the top. It's just that's the way the world is. We don't believe it.
They explain it. I'll even correct you. They explain why they teach it that way. They don't actually believe it. They say the world doesn't need any more engineers. It needs farmers. That's why they say it, because not to encourage people to become engineers, but actual caretakers.
No, see, I actually interpret that. Actually, that's how some governments have, like the government probably knows it. But I think we're both right away. And the government knows it, but the teachers themselves, the teacher believes that was a piece of propaganda. And I think she believes that didn't happen. So I think the government probably knows, but like the way that it is worked down is that the world really is being, it's like, and what he says, they're uneducating people. We don't need people with that education. And it starts with the educators themselves. The educators themselves believe that this world that they never went to the moon, things like that. Now, and it starts me thinking, what else has been changed in our history? What else don't we know about, though, that they've changed the whole concept of? It blew my mind a little bit, to be honest with you. But I'm sorry, I interjected on your.
No. Actually, that dropped. Well, that's actually a very interesting thing. That's what Nolan does. He gives you these thoughts, and you can interpret them the way you want to.
Right.
I kind of like that, and they both work.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Arrival also, like we've had so many movies where aliens come to Earth either to be like these cute friends to us, or these destroyers of our worlds, someone who wants to take over. What I do love about Arrival is the fact that these aliens, these beings, they come to Earth to help us, to teach us, to give us a weapon or a tool, but they do that so that we could help them.
Yeah.
So they actually are very egotistical in that way. They come to help us only that we, in 3,000 years, would be able to help them.
Yeah, I agree.
Think about that for a second. They are beings that have crossed through time and galaxies and dimensions. They can travel through time. Why do they need our help if they know in advance they might need help? Like that is a very paradoxical thing if you think about it. If they're so all-knowing, they can travel through time, why don't they help themselves? Why do they need us to help them? Teach us the time travel technology.
Right.
That creates more questions than answers.
It does.
I think I'm choosing Arrival again.
Wow, you're throwing yourself in. Oh, wow, okay.
That I need to scratch my brain.
Well, that's interesting you say. I do think it is an interesting concept either way. I do think that Interstellar does a little better job of creating, like I said, the world base that we just talked about. Everything is set so perfectly, but done in not like a lot of times when you have a apocalyptic movie, for example, a future generation movie, you get these big overdrawn explanations. War came, and it's just about this happened, this happened, this happened. No, we don't get any of that. We're just presented with the world as it is.
Mm-hmm.
This stuff happened, and we're living the way we're living now. And NASA is gone. NASA can't gone. They can't help out anymore, and we're going to try to find a way out of it. It's done very subtly, done very presenting as just this is the way it is. I love that about Interstellar. I do. I think it's a great world building of that. And the threat seems very realistic in that it just seems like that's possibly what happened. You could believe that this is an Earth that we are heading towards in some degrees.
And in some ways, I'm sorry if I interject, it makes it, in some ways, it makes it scarier than aliens. If you think about it, like you can fight the aliens. How do you fight running out of food?
Right. And how do you fight? Like, I love the concept. The threats that I love are the other worlds. Like they get to the wormhole. The first planet they get to, they lose all this time, and they come back up and they realize that like she was there for an hour and got killed, and it totally blows their mind.
Probably landed minutes ago.
Right. Oh. And it blows their mind, and through that it blows our mind, and we all at the same time feel the same thing. Holy shit, we're not prepared for this. We haven't even thought half of this shit through, and these are the smartest people in the world at that point. Like, these are some of the smartest people in the world, and they aren't even coming close to the realizations that they need. How are they going to save the human race if they can't even conceptualize half the stuff that's going on? Even if they have conceptualizations of it, they're not like strong enough conceptualizations. And you have like Dr. Man's world, and it's such an intense feeling that I think that Interstellar builds that so well. I have to go with Interstellar on that. I have to. And I love Arrival for exactly the same reasons you said. It's a lot of different intense things, but I think Interstellar shoots a little higher a goal, and I think it achieves it. That's why I got answer. You're changing it? Changing Interstellar? Okay. All right, I got that.
Yeah.
And it's not it's nothing against Arrival.
No, because that realization that I had, like, why are the time traveling aliens? Why do time traveling aliens need our help? That thought blew my mind. But now that you brought back all the stuff from Interstellar, like Interstellar feels larger than life in every way. It's sort of the concept of everything that they explore and discover.
I love the fact that the idea for me behind the whole thing is that this is just like every movie. Every time I watch Interstellar and I watch Arrival, whichever one I watch, whichever one I watch last is the one I like more.
Like both these movies could, like, if we did the greatest movie of all time show, like we'd have an episode for both these movies for sure.
Absolutely. Oh, hands down. That's something we might have to do at some point. I think something to that effect, something around that concept. We'll get back to that. All right, we finished that. Finally, we're going to bring on the better explosion of emotion. This is where we're just going to basically go, this is what's awesome about these movies. And then we're going to decide which one we think is better. So you know what? Let's do it. Let's bring Kelsey back on for this. Why not? All right. Welcome back, Kels. Welcome back.
She's still there.
She's still there.
We were ranting on for so long. I thought she surely has fallen asleep.
Only a couple times.
All right. Fair enough. So we will let you discuss your explosions of emotions, your favorite parts of both movies. Then we'll try to vote, and we'll see where we are, and we'll see if we need your tie-breaking vote. So, Jarvis, would the lady go first?
Whichever way she feels comfortable.
Okay.
Sure. All right. Favorite moments. Okay, so I am a daughter of a scientist, and this is a really subtle moment, but in Interstellar, the slow buildup of the world, learning about like how science is just not a priority anymore, things like that. I was getting really frustrated during that part of the movie because that's just like how my brain works. And then the moment when we find out NASA's still there, they are working underground trying to do that. It was like
NASA. It's actually SNASA. I just laughed about it. It's exactly what Barney Stinson says. It's secret NASA. But think about it. They
It
are
really is.
underground. They are hidden. They are secret. It's NASA.
It really is. It really is.
But that made me so happy
sorry.
that it's still there. Science is prevailing somewhere. It can't not be a thing. So that for me was a really important moment and made me happy. And then Arrival is so subtle that there's not really like a moment where I'm just like, yeah, this is great, amazing. But that with the moment she takes off her suit because it shows like how important communication is.
Yeah, she looks at the bird. She's like, they probably think the bird is talking to them if I don't do this. Like they could think that the bird is the actual being.
Right.
It's like seeing like facial expressions of such an important part of communication that she had to do that. And so that was also an important moment for me because I'm like, yeah, now work's getting done because sometimes you just got to do it.
Which is kind of, when you think about it, it's paradoxical again, because these aliens don't have a face, eyes, or a mouth.
Right.
Yeah.
If you think like they don't, but it still works.
Right.
It's weird. It's how you present yourself that's important to the aliens. Like it's weird. It's weird. I got lost in my thoughts.
That's okay. That's okay. What about you, Jarvis? You got some explosions of emotion?
Well, are we talking both or just Interstellar?
You can go both.
At the moment?
Let's
talk about Arrival first.
Okay.
The movie, like the opening of the movie, the way where she loses her child, it sort of feels like Up in a way. You give this very emotional moment to us. You sort of set the tone. That like whenever they show a parent lose their child, that always gets to me. Even though I'm not a parent, I don't know. It feels like a very tough thing. So that was like from the first start. I was like, okay, we're on for this emotional ride. And I do like that throughout when she's having these flashes, we don't know that she doesn't understand them, and you can spot that on a second or a third viewing.
Yes.
When you actually pay attention to Amy Adams's facial expressions, when she wakes up from those dreams, she's like, oh, what? And you're like, okay, she's frustrated that she's seeing her child, but she's confused.
Right.
And when that finally like comes all together, and she has this moment, like it is presented to us, like like she has to choose if she's gonna pick things up with Jeremy Renner or not. So that is she deciding if I want to have a child and lose a child, which is an impossible choice. And she makes it. She chooses to have the relationships, to live it through again. But then I started thinking, does she really choose? Like, if she had chosen not to, she wouldn't have had those flashes. None of it would have happened. The entire movie talks about predetermination. Like everything in the movie is predetermined. Even the phone call with Chenlo Chang, or who was it? And when I started thinking about that blew my mind in a whole other way. Like everything actually in the movie happens for a reason, and she doesn't have the choice.
Right.
She has to she has to do it. Otherwise, like, but she doesn't have to. She's already made the choice because she had those flashes. Right. So that's, again, I'm getting lost in my thought, but that movie, that's exactly what the movie does. You're like, whoa.
I agree. I was through my Arrival ones as well. One of my first, I could totally steal yours because that was totally one of mine as well at that moment. Same moment when she discovers, when she talks to Chang for the first time at the reception later on. And you guess when you kind of get that, you figure out what's going on too. You're like, oh fuck. But one of my favorite moments, it's explosion emotion, even though it's not quite emotional, but it's this big like, oh fuck moment. When she sits there and all of a sudden she just goes, they go, what do you say? What do you say? Weapon.
Offer weapon.
And I get this like sense of complete dread on her face when she knows what's going to happen, and she doesn't know any other way to like. She's already like thinking about, how am I going to make this work? How am I going to make this fucking, and like, but it's such a chilling moment. And you're like, because you know what's going to go on at that point. It's all over at that point. But that's a big one for me. I love that moment quite a bit. Also, the story she tells about the koala or the kangaroo, the pouch.
Oh right, yeah.
Totally
Not
made
true.
it up. Totally made it up. I love
But
that.
you believe it. It makes perfect sense.
You're like, oh, that sounds right.
Mhm.
So those are the big ones for me for Arrival.
But I feel like there's a big hairy butt lurking around the corner with Interstellar.
yeah, there's
Like,
a couple of them. There's a bunch of them actually.
let's talk about the biggest moment of McConaughey, when they're coming off the water planet.
The meme, basically, the
The
meme.
the meme, yeah, when he sees his children grow old in front of, not old, like get older, and they talk about like, and when they finally when finally Chastain talks to him, and she's so angry. She talks to him like, why did you leave us? Like, I wasn't supposed to record this. But at the very end, she starts crying and still asks, Daddy, why did you leave me?
Mm.
And that moment when McConaughey finally gets to what's her name? I've forgotten. Murph. Finally gets to see Murph, and they reunite. She's old, and he just asks her, like, how? But how did you know that I was coming back? And she says, because my daddy promised me. Wow.
So freaking good.
So good.
It's a meme and it's overused and it still works when you watch the movie. That's how, because usually when you meme something,
It ruins
it ruins it or it loses the power. Didn't lose the power at all when I watched it again the other day. So powerful. That, and of course we have this moment we talked about, the fist pump moment we mentioned 3 times, when he takes it as mind. It's necessary.
It's not possible. It's necessary.
It's necessary.
And then
it's
the score comes
what
in.
What a fucking badass you are right now, man. What a badass. But the one more I want to throw in there, the explosion of motion. Boom, he starts. They're going. McConaughey and Hathaway are heading back. They got to go through the galaxy, the black hole again. They lose Tar, or they send Tars off, and then guy hits the buttons, and all of a sudden you realize
that was always the plan.
2-door. Like, what? No. 90%. They said 90%.
Oh yeah, 90%.
So good.
Thought we agreed.
Honestly,
90%.
So good. So good. I'm gonna get chills the whole time.
Interestingly enough, all these moments, they're like these tear-jerking moments, but my favorite moment in Interstellar,
Go ahead.
on this watch, is the moment when they come back from the water world, the wave world, and they dock with the station. They know it's been like 23 or 30 years.
Right.
The door opens, and that how Romilly acts.
Yes.
He's like that. He's
Quirky.
Mm-hmm.
I've waited years. You're like, he's not angry. He's not sad. He's just, there's shock. There's like alienation, everything. He's so, and you feel him older. He's not like, he's not de-aged a lot. He's got some gray in his hair, but the way he acts and feels, it's so subtle, but it tells everything.
Yep.
That has become my favorite moment in the entire movie. Like, imagine you have no idea if they died, if they survived. You pretty much, you probably will spend the rest of your life on that station for 23 years. You haven't come back. Such a crazy moment.
It is.
Yep.
And I'll throw one more in there. Those aren't mountains.
They're waves.
Oh.
He turned around. He looks and sees him out there, and he goes back to the ship. Get back here now. Get back here.
Tars, get her on it.
And the music. Oh.
And in that moment too, how he Tars gets there, like how he just like transforms through that wheel and just goes. That was like, oh, it's so cool.
that was another thing I forgot to mention. I realized how Nolan in Interstellar, how he makes the machines have souls. Like, okay, Tars and Case, but at the very beginning of the movie, it starts off with them being on the farm, and all the harvesters sort of group up near the house. And it's sort of, you get this eerie feeling. You don't know what's going on at that point. You're like, wow, it feels like you sort of like Field of Dreams feel like something is moving them. They have souls, they have feelings. I don't know. It's such a weird moment. And of course, when we're introduced to Case and Tars, they like people have said who like to shit on Interstellar that the two best characters in the entire movie and the best acting is from these robots. Well, they're not far off.
No, not
The
far
voice
off.
acting is
so
awesome.
good.
It is. But of course, one last one you got to think. Don't leave. Don't let me leave, Murph. Don't let me leave. But then the moment they figure out the watch and you see her come up, it's awesome. It's so good. So good. All right, but you know what?
That's Interstellar.
It's Interstellar. I have no. It's hands down Interstellar for me. I love Arrival. Arrival has a big. I think the issue is that Arrival has a very big moment and it's very well done and very well executed. Interstellar just has more, more of them throughout.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And Romilly's actor and the character itself, such an underrated actor and character.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I feel like he gets overclouded by McConaughey and Hathaway and Chastain. But he's such a cool character, Romilly.
I agree. Interstellar is even more than that. Michael Caine has a good part. John Lithgow has a good part. Casey Affleck. They're all like really solid.
Damn you, Cooper.
Well. Damn you, Cooper. A little bit of cliffhanger like that. But yeah. So guess what, Kelsey? I'm sorry, we don't need your services as far as the voting goes. We have one winner. And did I even bring up the posters?
I have no idea who's winning.
Okay, well, we have our posters, which we didn't bring up before, I don't think. But I'd like to find the alternative posters, so I'll show them now. Is the winner going to be Interstellar? Or is the winner going to be Arrival? And if you're counting back, the winner is Interstellar.
There it is.
Interstellar
that was
wins.
my initial instinct as well, if I'm honest.
That would be my vote if I had to.
It would have been your vote, Interstellar? Okay.
I think it's fair. It's totally
Which is funny because we don't actually get that a lot of times. It's funny. Like a lot of times if you talk to people in the world, I've mentioned this topic a few times. I know when the action guys brought it up, they plugged it last night on their show. And a few people in the chat are like, oh, Arrival hands down. Arrival seems to be the more loved one. Interstellar is not a really loved Nolan film. It's always like thrown in the bus for Dark Knight, for Inception, things like that.
I think it might be my favorite. I think it's my favorite. And sometimes Inception, depending on my mood, Inception might creep up there a little bit, but I think Interstellar is my favorite.
Same here. For me, it's Interstellar for me as well.
So it makes sense to me.
Can't
I guess
wait for Tenet.
I'm starring Richard R. Jarvie. I gotta love that anyway. Well, all right, guys, we're going to wrap it up here. We're a little over an hour, a little bit of an extra long episode, but we can't help it when we talk about Interstellar. Interstellar's a long movie, so we have to have a long episode for it to cover it. So,
but not long enough. I wish it was longer.
I wish we could do more. I really honestly could do more. I could be here all day. Yeah. So, Kelsey, where can the folks find you?
All right, you can find me at KelseyKins90 on Twitter and Instagram. I'm also on Call to Action Podcast, so you can check me out there. And I do have my own YouTube channel, so just search Kelsey Kirkland and click on my face. I cover Harley Quinn mostly, but I also do video games and trailer reactions and things like that as well.
Sweet.
Great
Thank
stuff.
you. Thank you very much, Kelsey. We will say goodbye to you and we'll sign off. So thank you very much. We will talk to you later on. All right. And Jarvie, where can the folks find you?
You can find me working at Jupiter. No, actually, you can find me at Richard Eric Jarvie, Eric with a K, on Facebook and Instagram. And of course, with my good friend Paul DiNuzio on the classiest podcast on the interwebs.
You got it in there after all.
I got it in there.
I love it.
So reversed.
Sweet.
So natural.
You can find me at Paul_DiNuzio. You can find me Paul DiNuzio on Twitter and Facebook at Paul_DiNuzio on Twitter. Find me every week here with Richard R. Jarvie on the classiest podcast of all time. I like that as well. You can also find me on the Call to Action podcast with Kelsey, and I do run. Me and my good friend Danielle Ramirez host Chill to Action, which is an interview show we do weekly. And also, I'm opened up PLD Projects, my own YouTube channel, which I have some cool content coming up with that.
Go subscribe
some niche comments, so go subscribe there as well, PLD Projects. And of course, please, patreon.com/Team Action for the action industries. Patreon, I run that for the boys, for Ben and Drew, and we have a lot of cool content coming out with them as well. A great community of patrons there as well. So do that for us, and we'll be greatly appreciated. Like, subscribe, let us know in the comments what you think, and let us know in the comments anything that you'd like us to cover, because we're always looking for topics. We have a couple in mind, nothing solidified next week yet, and nothing solidified for our next live one, which we'd like to do once a month or so. But we will talk and we'll get back to you. Any last words there from you, Richard or Jarvie?
I think there's only one thing left to say.
That's right. Court is adjourned.